Well, welcome back to the Shitbox Garage. Um, Probably the most popular video that I have on YouTube is me doing rod and main bearings on this 3.8 in this JK here. So, been doing a ton of work to this thing, getting it road ready. It always has been road worthy, but getting ready to do long trips, like if I wanted to go to Florida or something. And transmission, all kinds of stuff. And it had a small coolant leak, wondering where it is. So just going through diagnosis, you get underneath here, and I'll try and show you that in just a second. I just took it out for its last drive before it goes under the knife again. Upper radiator hose, hard as a rock. Even it's been off already, sitting for a few minutes. I'll pop the hood, it'll still be rock hard. What that means is the coolant system is over pressurized, and so somewhere in there, high pressure is causing coolant to leak out somewhere, probably through anywhere. It's too high pressure. The reason it's high pressure is because exhaust gas is escaping out of the cylinders, combustion chambers, across the head gasket and into the water jackets that are real close by, pressurizing that system. And so it's time to do a head job on this. So really the only real issue is head gaskets. But to get at the head gaskets, you got to get way into it. And as long as you're in there at 160,000 hard trail miles, might as well put some new heads on it and some new parts, because you're already down in there. And if you don't, you might hate yourself, because the next thing that goes is a intake seal or who knows what. So that's what we're doing. I'm going to create a video here for you, hopefully help you out with how to do some heads on a 3.8 Chrysler engine. They're in minivans. It's a minivan motor. Nothing special. Just replacement style remanufactured OEM heads. I'll show you those. But the heads that are coming off, I will use to rebuild those with different parts in prep for a stroker. I want to find a low end and build a stroker motor for this. Stroke it out from a 3.8 to a 4.1. Cam it to get the torque, peak torque band down, so you got a much more usable trail motor. I'm thinking 2 videos here: a video about teardown and cleanup, and then a video about putting it back together. So stay tuned. So under the hood here, there's the 3.8 van motor. This is a radiator hose, the upper one. You can just look at it and see that it's bulging. It's been off for many minutes. And you won't get overflow even out of a pressurized cap, because it's not based on pressure. You got to have temperature to get that thing to release. That's a temperature-based thing, not a pressure thing. So the cap isn't blowing, but somewhere down there on the floor you'll find some coolant leaks. This thing, I'm squeezing hard with my hand, and it is hard as a rock. That thing should be flexible. It should be, when you shut it off, the water pump stops moving the water. This should immediately turn back to squishy. And when it's hard as a rock like this, like if you're out thinking about buying one, definitely check that out. You pop the hood, find the upper radiator hose. If that thing is hard, you know you've got bad head gaskets, and you don't want to buy that thing, because I've got $600 into heads, another $550 into gaskets and everything that go into this. I'll have $60 in spark plugs. I'll have a $60 oil change into it. I'll have to refill the coolant in it. This is assuming I don't find anything else that goes on during this project. So that's a good tip for buying something when you're trying to figure out if that motor is worth anything. Check your oil, see if it's milky. That means the water's going the opposite way. It's getting in the oil. That's an even worse problem. This one doesn't have any coolant in the oil. The oil looks fine. That radiator hose is hard, and every now and then you'll see down there, right there, coolant on the ground. That's from leaking out from somewhere in a high pressure system. It's just squeaking by because it's so much pressure. If I were to take this thing, which runs perfect right now, if I were to take it out to the sand dunes and hit test hill and hit them RPMs, I'd likely blow a radiator hose right off. And the reason is you just got bad head gaskets. All right, we're going all the way down in there to remove the heads. We'll start with this here air box. Probably just, no. Okay, so move the air box out of the way. Now, the heads are over there somewhere, kind of through this mess. Interestingly, this is the evap solenoid. I just replaced that recently. So I'm going to try and get as little out of the way as possible, but we got to get this mess out of the way here. So I'm going to pull the battery out, and then we'll see about this battery box. So there's 3 nuts up on the firewall. There was this one here, and then this one here, this one here, and then 2 underneath the box. And I think it still is not wanting to come away. So there's got to be another one hidden maybe down in here. You can see the clips right there. I can't tell if that slides. Solid right in here. So there's another one somewhere down in here to get this box out of the way. I don't know where it's at. This is all wiring. And this I want to be loose off the box. So there, that comes away. And there's not one. Maybe in all the sand. Sure looks like there's one right there. You see these? Those are not. Okay, this came up really awkwardly, and now that it's out, you can see all the jeeping. I missed one right here, and then this would have come away from this. That made it a lot easier. So to put it back in, get this one out. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the 3 on the back, and that's how that comes out. This is I broke that, just came out, that broke for the battery bolt, which can be gotten from the back once it soaks real good. Get that out and replace the bolt. So if you're taking it out, you definitely want to get these 3, and then this will come away in a different section. So back here on this side, here's the wiring box is all together. That's a plug for the evap solenoid. This goes up here, and this is a ground that is right here. Take that ground away and it allows that to come away. I've got power on it for the winch, but that would have come away easier. So now we can see, with the battery box out of the way, you can see things are just going to be a heck of a lot easier. For instance, now we can get a can in here, a can of whoop butt, and spray these exhaust manifold bolts and clean up while we're in here. That's been in there a long time and you can't clean it. So there you go. And then right there, the other thing was, should probably get this fixed. This is a ground strap right here on to the body and went up to the hood, which this, of course, these are probably aluminum hinges, which is why you need a ground strap, and you can see it gone. But I think that was because ground strap would get closed when I go up to the hood, it would get closed on it. But we'll fix that up. So now you can see down in here, we can get the exhaust away here with these. We can get the exhaust away from the exhaust manifold right here. And then we can get the manifold off by getting all of these bolts out. And this can stay. This won't be in our way. There are the head bolts right there that we got to get to underneath the manifold. So there you go. So the EGR comes off with a 8 mil down in here that come out this way. You can get them down through here, and then there's a 13 mil right here for this bracket that holds the EGR pipe, and then up top there's 2 more 8 mils for the EGR. And then I pulled the coil pack off right here with 2 10 mils, and then here's the control and power for the pack, and you pull all the wires off. They do go back to specific cylinders. They're marked right on the coil pack. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Next, we'll get this recirculating, I guess you'd call it a pipe. It's a hard rubber. And then it looks like, I don't know about this intake. This looks like the upper intake right here with water going through it. So I think that we're gonna have to pull these, but we'll see after we get the upper plenum off. To do that, we've got a throttle body control here that needs to come off. I don't know what that connection is for yet, but that's got to come off the upper. This has got to come off. There's a couple. This is your evap solenoid. That'll come off. These, I'm pretty sure the gas line's got to be disconnected. We'll need a disconnect tool. I'll show you that. And then I think we've got a bunch of bolts. I think the upper plenum can come off without this. Once that gets off, we'll check this out. This has clearly got to go, this bracket and this. That's undoubtedly on the lower half of the plenum, the plenum is made by an upper and lower intake, plastic and aluminum. So let's get after that. So the EGR comes off with a 8 mil down in here that come out this way. You can get them down through here. And then there's a 13 mil right here for this bracket that holds the EGR pipe. And then up top there's 2 more 8 mils for the EGR. And then I pulled the coil pack off right here with 2 10 mils. And then here's the control and power for the pack. And you pull all the wires off. They do go back to specific cylinders. They're marked right on the coil pack. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Next, we'll get this recirculating, I guess you'd call it a pipe. It's a hard rubber. And then it looks like, I don't know about this intake. This looks like the upper intake right here with water going through it. So I think that we're gonna have to pull these, but we'll see after we get the upper plenum off. To do that, we've got a throttle body control here that needs to come off. I don't know what that connection is for yet, but that's got to come off the upper. This has got to come off. There's a couple. This is your evap solenoid. That'll come off. These, I'm pretty sure the gas line's got to be disconnected. We'll need a disconnect tool. I'll show you that. And then I think we've got a bunch of bolts. I think the upper plenum can come off without this. Once that gets off, we'll check this out. This has clearly got to go, this bracket and this. That's undoubtedly on the lower half of the plenum, the plenum is made by an upper and lower intake, plastic and aluminum. So let's get after that. These it's just a it's tight, and you loosen it by pulling these together or using a pair of pliers to pull them together. Watch out you don't break this nipple off. If I put these this way, I'm gonna break it off. So I can just get in here, get that turned out of the way so I don't break stuff. Get it up out of the way. And then that is going to be glued on there from, oh, not bad. So there you go. I'm going to leave that for now over there. That's on the valve cover over there. So we'll get to that when the valve cover is out of the way. This is your evap solenoid. Comes right here. Let's get that fuel line disconnected. And I think that is a MAP sensor or a pressure dome pressure sensor. I'm not sure which. When we get up on there, we'll take a look. Let's get after that line. So I did a job on the Yukon and I bought these Duralast quick disconnects. This is too thin, at least for a GMC. So I bought these. I don't remember what brand these are. These came out of O'Reilly's. These are way better. So this goes over the line, puts in, and it spreads the teeth that are holding that fuel line on. This is rigid, but I got enough slack in here to pull this apart with a line disconnect tool. This is a 5/16 or 8 mil. All the way in, that should separate it good. And then you're going to want to be ready, just so you don't bloat yourself up. It doesn't really matter, but that's your fuel. She's been sitting now for a while, so see, that'll at least have you not smelling it. So there you go, 5/16 or 8 mil. So I don't really want stuff getting in to my fuel, so I'm just gonna tape that up so we don't end up with fuel everywhere, or worse, debris in the fuel system, and then straight into your injectors, and then you're like, oh good, I get to do fuel injection. This is a throttle body, so you notice there's no fuel rail and injectors like port injection or anything. It's all mixed right in here, but there's still needles and stuff and debris. Bad. So again, 4 10 mil on a side, and this is just disconnected. I still don't know what that is, but then there's just this right here, which we can probably get by simply working it. There we go. And then there's the upper plenum. Let's turn this over. Nothing's going to fall out of it. And there's gaskets on each one of these. We got OEM ones. You can see that's the way the plastic is. That's not very dirty, but while you got it off, EGR tends to come in right here and not bad. We'll seafoam that. There's the upper plenum. So I lied. There are this is the fuel rail right here, and here's all
your injectors. So if you wanted to do injectors, you wouldn't have to do that battery over there because you're just going after the plenum. But you'd have to get this far into it to do injectors, which I'm not going to do. So there they are, and here's the inject. That's what was connected back there, is the injectors. So now that we got this apart, this is definitely part of the intake manifold. And so we've got a loom up here, which that goes, it's probably water. This needs this single wire, so some sensor, temp sensor or something. This is free. This is on the intake. That doesn't have to come. Injectors are not free. You've got the whole, this wiring loom, which goes down into a big loom for all these injectors. So we're gonna have to pull the injectors, not the injectors themselves, just the pull the power, this plug off of each injector, and this sensor, and this is free, and on the head we can just pop this off the head for it to stay with this loom. We gotta get this whole loom free to get this off, which has, I don't know, looks like 1, 2, I don't know how many are in there. We'll find them. I think the fuel rail, I don't want to touch the fuel rail because that mucks with seals on the injectors. So we're going to go ahead and get this loom out of the way. So this is down there. It's a water temp sensor. This is the intake, so both this and this got to come off. When you get hoses like this, you can't, they need to get free, so you can get some channel locks like this, and I already did it, but you break it free like this to get it rotating, then you can get her free. That's your heater hose for your cab. And now with that off, I can actually squeeze on this and help me pull. It could have 2 temp. No, I think that could be a cam position sensor right there. That's what that could be. So this is now free up until this, and this looks like a joy, and another Chrysler Joy and a Blessing here. I don't know, we'll have to figure out how to do this. It might pull up. It looks like it pulls up. Oh gosh. This might be one of them ones that this has got to go up, I think, to allow this to go down. These are always a joy and a blessing. I'll get back to you on that. Okay, this red pulls up, And then I think you can get this depressed, and then, oh, that'll come right off. And then there you go. There you go. Try and put that back together so we don't end up breaking it. One-handed here. I'm over the top of it, standing on the bumper to get this done. I'm not going to mess with that. It should be fine. And then this one here is just pop this off. Try and save it. I hate those things. They're always breaking. There you go. Right on top of that, you can get that. And then this is all free except for injectors. Each one of these is going to be popped up like that. See that? And this. These are on the back side. This looks like, oh, that's another just plastic one. I'm not cutting it, I'm just using these as a lever. Pinch around it and pry it up. Like that. There you go. So, again back here. Like that. And it looks like there's yet another one back here, riddled with electronicals. This, you know what, Bodie?
Yep.
So for these, I can't get on the backside with a screwdriver. So I got a pick here. I should be able to just pick it. It doesn't want to be picked, that's for sure. Could be just years of grime. I don't know why these pried. I should be able to get it with a pick. I'm gonna have to get it with a pick, like to get that one. Maybe right there. There it goes. So get it on the outside edge here. Wow. Not fun. Got on, sweetheart. Wow. It's gotta go to get the thing out. And there's no other real place to grab it except for right in here. Oh, got that one. Okay, these, there's one here. You can't see blind behind my index finger on it. And there's one here. Those might not be too bad, but they're not gonna be that fun. And then you've got, so you got 2, 4, you can see them good here, 6, and then how they're positioned out here, 7 and 8. And then fuel rail is disconnected, so we've got this is off of the intake, off of the valve cover. And when we pull this, we're going to need to be real careful about this kind of stuff getting down in here. But right now, when this comes off, this will get cleaned too. That doesn't look terrible, but again, great chance to clean it when it's out. So then we've got a 13 mil stud and a 13 mil stud, but the nut will come off of this one. Got to get it here, and then one down here and one down here to get this loose. And then we can do the intake bolts. Okay, this is a 13 mil, and these are 10s. I don't know why that one's different. I don't remember. Maybe the loom, it's a post for a loom, I don't know. We'll see if this little tool will do it. It did. Okay, I'm going to take that one, and then we're going to do a 10 mil here. What do I do with it? This is, you don't want to start doing that. Leaving sockets around. There it is right there. Okay. And then we're going to organize those into a bag labeled. Let's see how these come out up here. No problem. So this tool is going to be able to get down in there into each one. I don't know about those back ones. So I'll get back to you in a minute after I do some bagging and some labeling, and we'll get the rest of these intake bolts out. There's not many people that can remember every single nut and bolt that came off. So put them in a bag, intake, brackets. That way, when you put it back together, things are with things. And this is a bolt, not with this project. You can see over here, got another project going, not mine. I am helping a bit with it, but this is an axle build. It's in setup phase right now, going on an XJ. Okay, I got 2, 4, 6, 8 out. I believe that this should be free. So let's find out. There you go. So we can move this out of the way. You guys stay over there. This stays out of the way. This stays out of the way. We should be able to snatch this up out of here. I don't see anything stopping me. That's pleasant. Okay. Now we can get these valve covers off. Look like 8 mils all over the place. This one's probably going to be fairly unpleasant towards the back. You can see how it's shifted back. This one's no problem. It looks like there's a bolt here. You can see some sludge in here, and I don't think there's supposed to be. Feels like there's a bolt back there and a bolt up here. They look like they're 10 mils. So we'll get them out and pull that gasket out. Alright. This is a keeper for the lifters right there. That's the push rod coming through. We want to, obviously as we work on this, we're not going to want shit down in here because that's no bueno. So we're going to cover that up and next get after these valve covers. Okay, so valve covers come off. The bolts stay with the OEM valve covers. They don't come out. They're got a retainer in them. So those are simple. You can get those. I think they're 8 mils. 12 mil bolts on your exhaust manifold. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to do this head and see. I'm not sure if I want to take the manifold off down at the off the Y pipe. I can, this is free and the head would come out. Like, look, I can, exhaust is pretty bendy, so I think I might attempt this with well, we'll see. We're going to take the head first and see on this side. See the head bolts I got to get, but before that, got to take this valve train off. So we just want to get the rockers and this off. I don't even know what they are. They're not that. Probably just 10 mil. It's dirty. You can clean it first. You can see a diff we got going here. You know, I was going to say, upper radiator hose isn't the only indication. I'm replacing the heads also because I'm pretty sure leak down's bad on this, which means it's not holding compression. I think it's in the heads. We'll find out when we get the head off when we can see those pistons, but another indication is you can park it on a hill with a manual and leave it in gear, and this one will just creep each compression as it lets go, and it'll just creep, which means it's not holding compression up in these heads. You can see how clean it is up here. I religiously change the oil in this thing, knowing how dirty it is and how it helps, you know, life of things. So I'm guessing there's, you know, I don't know, weak springs or something underneath here. There's nothing broken in here. Everything is tight. So everything looks good so far. But I just think these heads are tired and clearly gaskets. So that's another reason why I'm not just doing gaskets. So this is the right or passenger side. This is the back. There's the long bolt. The rest are all the same length. It can play a little bit this way, can't play any this way. Another good way to check play up and down is to rock them. They all feel really good. These rocker arms are all in great shape on this side. So I pulled the valve train off. I showed you. I pulled the push rods out and I kept them in order and in the same direction. So I've got, this is the back, this was down, and this is to the top. I want them to go back in the same exact way. So these head bolts are truly in the way of the manifold, so there's no way about it. I gotta get down underneath with extensions and a wrench up here and pull the manifold. It's gonna be in the way of plugs, putting the head in, it's just in the way. So gotta take the manifold. These did break inside. I got up, sat there, and broke the head bolts inside. So those are loose. Got to get these outside ones. And to do that, we get the joy of doing exhaust work. So I already got the coolant out of each cylinder, but I let it sit there for a few minutes while I looked at the head. And I'll show you guys that head. Why did I let it sit there? Because I wanted to see if it would drain down. And none of them drained down. There's, you know, carbon buildup for sure. There's no lip up here. There's no egregious marks, but there are some rust points, like right here. But I think is the low end on the passenger side looks fine. 160,000 miles on it. I'd say it looks pretty good for 160,000 miles. So that's a good sign. We got the other side to do. We'll hopefully find just similar head gasket issues. I couldn't find much. It didn't look like there was major valve issues. I'll show that to you. So as far as the compression, you would think that it would be in the cylinders, and maybe it's in that head over there, but I didn't really find major issues. But there's some, you'll see it, I'll show it to you, the head, there's some significant, definitely burning coolant, and I could kind of smell it. But if it's burning coolant and building up on the valves, and there's a lot of buildup on those valves, then they cannot be seated all the way and losing compression there when it's sitting and causing it to creep. But the low end looks good here, which is great. Didn't do much to film the other side. Same thing though. Head bolts came out fine. The exhaust manifold on this side was not well bolted down, and the exhaust manifold gasket was destroyed. There was one exhaust manifold bolt that you couldn't even get with a socket. It wouldn't go on, like it was impeded by the manifold, like the exhaust tube. We're gonna have to check that out, maybe clearance it a little bit. There's the top of the motor. I don't know how much I'm gonna get into this. There's carbon at the top, but there's no rings or lips. Everything looks good down in there. Some carbon buildup. Got a lot of cleaning to do. Gotta get this whole thing clean. But get back in there and clean the back of the motor. And we're gonna get stuff down in the cam return and stuff, so we're gonna have to definitely clean it real good. I'll probably literally spray it with some stuff, and then clean up the decks, clean the whole thing, and then we'll have to drain the oil for sure. Let it run for maybe 15 minutes with some fresh oil and a fresh filter, and then change that, because I definitely got water down in here. So there's water down in it. It's gotta go through an oil cycle for sure, so you don't get water in your oil and tear stuff up like bearings. But there it is. There's the top of it. The heads are off in a day. It's 4. I'm gonna say did it in about 5 hours of labor. Started at about 11. And now it's 4:20. Had an hour break for lunch, maybe. Gives you an idea how long it took. So I kind of planned a day for teardown and a day for build. I know it doesn't look very good when it's dirty like this, but it's actually in good shape, which is great. I was hoping that we didn't have to get to this point and then decide that it needed a whole motor.